haven't done a stream like this in a while. So if you're watching this after on YouTube, I'm going to be trying to do these Maple Leaf trade talk live streams like once a week, even though, it's going to be kind of just random. I'd like to pick a day. So if we can figure that out, that'd be dope. If we can figure out a day to do these streams once a week. Now, I will say, if you hear the phone ringing on one of the phones I'm using right now, it's because I'm working another job at the same time that I'm doing this. So basically going to be talking about some potential moves the Leafs could make, basically just trying to get your guys' ideas. And yeah, it's going to be fun. Maybe half hour, 40 minutes. You never know how long these things usually go. Might pull up an armchair GM, just so you won't see it, but we'll at least take some ideas to this. The Miller for Nylander stuff is a little confusing for me because we'll look him up. Basically, what that does, because I think he only has 1 year left. Yeah, so he only has 1 year left on his contract. So you're giving up additional years of Nylander for 1 year of JT Miller. And yeah, that's the other thing. Why is I still don't understand why William Nylander is the guy that has to be traded here. I'm still very confused about that. Because I feel like it doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't think Nylander's definitely going. What people need to understand is that the Leafs actually do have a decent amount of cap space to do something. Okay, let's look at it this way, right? So yeah, Tavares is old, but that doesn't matter. He's still put up a good amount of points this year. He's still a very useful player. I mean, his contract has a lot of value, and it's a good time because he had 80 points. Okay, but this is what I've always said. It's what are you getting back for that player? What are you getting back for him? Because the Leafs right now have almost $8 million in cap space, and they need another defenseman, which is going to be Sandin or Liljegren. And they're going to have to upgrade the forward core. But why take away William Nylander? Yeah, but the Leafs already have $7 million in cap space, and you're probably trading Kerfoot and Mrazek. That's the most likely trade candidates. So if you're trading Peter Mrazek and Kerfoot, the Leafs have $15 million in cap space. The thing is, though, there's people want the Leafs to go out there and get a physical guy and this, that, and the other. It's okay, sure, you can get a physical player, or you can get multiple, but you still have to replace the production. When the Leafs got what's his name, Matt Martin, everybody was excited about that. But then when you realize that Matt Martin was out there just hitting people and ignoring the fact that there was a puck out there, he made a lot of mistakes that cost the Leafs goals. And that's the same thing that Kyle Clifford and Wayne Simmons did this year. When you run around trying to hit someone and you're not even thinking about playing hockey, sometimes that costs your team. Yeah, you can trade Mrazek, 100%. Yeah, Steve, you just answered the question, though. If you're trying to clear out cap space, would you rather attach a pick to Mrazek or trade William Nylander? Because I'm definitely trading Mrazek and a pick instead of trading my 80-point, less than $7 million player. Yeah, Campbell's a free agent, but if he wants more than 4 or 5, like $4 to $4.5 million, you let him walk. But the Leafs could re-sign him. Like, I don't think this would be a semi-rebuild. We need a more balanced approach. And this is where I disagree about the Leafs not having depth. And I'm not just disagreeing with you guys for the sake of it, but like let's just look at the Leafs in the regular season, okay? So these guys I would consider depth. First of all, Bunting was less than $1 million and had 63 points. Kerfoot had 51 points, a career high, making $3.5 million. 51 points. Pierre Engvall had 35 points, including 15 goals. Ilya Mikheyev had 21 goals in 30 and had 32 points. 21 goals for a depth player. TJ Brody, who's not an offensive defenseman, 28 points. Kasha in 50 games, 27 points. David Kampf, who scored 2 goals last year, had 11 goals this year. Timothy Liljegren, 23 points in his rookie campaign. Like, I don't see where there's no depth. Like, the Leafs had good depth, honestly. They got beat by friggin' Tampa Bay. Like, I don't really know that it was depth. Michael Bunting literally had 63 points. And he was less than $1 million. Kerfoot, 3.5, career high of 51 points. 15 goals for Engvall. 21 for Mikheyev. This is the problem with the Maple Leafs. This season, it's like, what the hell else do they do? Because they had the guys and they just didn't do it. I mean, sure, you can have Domi in the lineup. It's just how much is that going to cost? Like I know he's having a good um, playoff. Yo, shout out. Thank you, Martin. Appreciate that. Now, just looking at cap friendly here, if you trade, like I just said, if you trade Kerfoot and Mrazek, the Leafs have $15 million in cap space. And people are saying trade Justin Hall, right? So if you trade Justin Hall, you have to replace 2 defensemen. If you trade Mrazek, you're obviously replacing a goalie. And obviously Campbell, is a free agent. And then 3 forwards. And you have $17 million in cap space. The Leafs could easily do a bunch of really good things with that money. And they still have multiple first-round picks. Nick Robertson. They have good players that can come up and play. They have guys that they could trade. Yeah, the Leafs would have $17 million in cap space. Like, I don't think people are actually looking at if they move Kerfoot, Mrazek, and Hall, you have 17 million in cap space. Like, you can do a lot with that money. Like, and the thing about replacing Hall is giving Liljegren and Sandin more minutes. Like, because you bring back Mark Giordano at 800K. So now you have Riley, Brody, Muzzin, and Giordano. You slide in Sandin and Liljegren. I mean, you can wait until the deadline to acquire another defenseman. You don't have to go out there and acquire a #1 guy at the beginning of the season. The Leafs have a good enough team to make the playoffs. At the deadline is when they need to go all in. At the start of the season, you really don't have to. The Leafs can get Gibson. But guys, let me remind you, in the last 3 seasons, Gibson's played worse than Campbell. Chikrin would be interesting, but there's a lot of left-handed D on this team. I think if the Leafs were able to trade Muzzin, then they would go after Chikrin. Yeah, John Gibson, I love him, but he hasn't really been that good, to be honest with you guys. I'm trying to find a tweet that I found that people were talking about their stats, but I can't find it. But John Gibson, like, really hasn't been all that good. I'll just be honest with you guys. And I love John Gibson. I think he's fantastic. But yeah, he's played on a bad team. But you also have to consider the fact that I don't really think he's been all that healthy either. Like, for me, I think the Leafs should sign Campbell and then try to go after a really solid, like, guy that could come up and be something. Like, people are talking about Stollers. People are talking about maybe getting one of the goalies. Oh my God, why am I drawing a blank? He's a free agent this year. Actually, no, he just re-signed with Columbus. I think it's Corpusalo. I think he just might have re-signed. Anyways, this is what I would do is I would try to get Campbell back if you don't think that you can get the right price of a goaltender, if you don't think that you can get a goalie that is going to be Mrazek first and Robertson, that doesn't get the deal done for Chikrin. More than that. Way more than that. It would probably, if you're dumping Mrazek, it's Mrazek, a first, a second, Robertson, and then at least two more pieces. Yeah, Corpusalo. But I think he just re-signed. So let's just, for the sake of it, I'm looking at the cap friendly right now. Chikrin for Nylander, not doing that. I like Chikrin, but how much better are you getting if you trade Nylander for Chikrin? Like, I don't really see how you get better. You get better in one area, but you don't get better in all areas. So let's just say the Leafs sign Rasmus Sandin and Timothy Liljegren to matching $2.3 million deals, which I think is too expensive. But let's say they get that, right? So now your blue line becomes Riley Brody, Muzzin Liljegren, Sandin Giordano, right? So that's pretty good. And you don't have to go out there and acquire another big defenseman until the deadline. You can save that money for the deadline or save those picks, prospects, whatever. That still leaves the Leafs with $12 million to go out there and get 3 forwards and a goaltender, right? Maybe 4, because you're not keeping Clifford on the team. So you can send Clifford down to the minors. They'll give you a little bit of cash. You call up Nick Robertson instead, right? So $12.5 million for 3 forwards and a goalie. You can get Mrazek out without retention. You have to attach a pick or a prospect. Like, here's the thing, guys. There's teams around the league that were valuing Mrazek last year, which is insane. Like, there was people like legitimate reporters saying that there were teams interested in Mrazek, but there would have to be a sweetener attached to it. There's been way worse players traded than Mrazek. He can get traded. I honestly think he can get traded. No question, because there's been way worse players traded, way worse. And listen, if they have to keep Mrazek, I mean, oh well, you have to get another goalie. Yeah, exactly. We traded Nick Ritchie, guys. Like, come on. How about Nylander? Leon? No, we need to. If you mean Liljegren, we need to keep him. He's cheap and he's pretty good. Mrazek, Willie, and Robertson for Gibson. I wouldn't even trade Nylander straight up for Gibson. We can't be serious here. I really don't get the trade Nylander stuff. If you can free up money with Hall, Mrazek, and Kerfoot. Like I know there's probably going to be some troll comments in here, but damn. Matthew Nyes is not playing professional hockey at the start of the season. Niemela is not going anywhere. The Leafs aren't trading him. I don't think Miller for Nylander is a good trade. But I also have to put a kibosh on the Kawhi thing. Niemela is the top Leaf prospect in my opinion. Some people will disagree with that, but I think Niemela is the top one. Um, I would say you probably still consider Robertson a prospect. Um, Amirov, I know that he's going through some stuff, but he's definitely, and we wish him all the best. Obviously, I think he's still the top three. After that, I like. They have another defenseman, Hervinen. I can't believe I'm mispronouncing his name, but I would say him. I don't know. After that, it's kind of like wish-washy. But there's also a comment in here saying you being a Nylander fan does not let you judge him subjectively. No, this is the problem. If Nylander gets traded and it's a good deal, 100%. The team has to get better. You can't just trade Nylander in like some one for one deal and think that it's going to work out unless the player is of equal or more value. You need to attach something to Nylander to get a better player. Do it. Go for it. But the whole the whole Miller for Nylander thing doesn't make sense to me. Yo, big dog, appreciate you. 13.99 donation. Thank you so much. You definitely don't have to donate money, but I definitely appreciate it. Nylander's not a winning attitude. He has no battle and is lazy. I mean, I listen to the professionals when they talk about like no battle and lazy, whatever. Like Sheldon Keefe and William Nylander have talked about sometimes he just needs a kick in the ass. And I definitely agree with that. There's some times where he's very lazy and he doesn't look like he's engaged, but not every player is the same. Like there's lazy, uninspired players all over the league, and unfortunately, some of those guys are really good and they're hard to trade, even if they have those moments where they're not always go 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 go, because not every player has that same attitude. Jesus, 27.99. Yo, you definitely did not have to donate that, but thank you so much. M&H Crush. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Who is your top player that is talked about to trade and will stay? And your top player no one is talking about that you think might be traded. Love your stuff, buddy. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So who's your top player that is talked about to trade and will stay? I think if we're talking top player that will stay, I know Nylander is going to be in the rumors the whole offseason, but I do ultimately think he stays just because I don't know if the Leafs are going to find that value that they want. But that's going to be the most interesting talk of the offseason. But no one is talking about that might be traded. Nobody's talking about top player that nobody's talking about. In terms of the Leafs, that's hard. Um, I mean, here's the thing. I just talked about it, but Nimela is like the Leafs' top prospect in my eyes. If the Leafs are trading him, that is going to have to be a massive trade because they value him very high. And I think teams around the league, when the Leafs were looking for talent at the deadline, were saying that he was untouchable, which is crazy. So there must have been some bad ideas there or some trades that they weren't really interested in. But I think that nobody sees that coming as the Leafs trading away a top prospect because they want cheaper players to make this lineup in the next couple of years because they need those cap savings. But if I was to just go off the board and say top player nobody's talking about, I think that a top prospect being traded would be something that would throw some people off. But I think that he's a guy that they shouldn't move. But if they're going to try to acquire a good player for right now, they need somebody right now to push the needle or move the needle for this team. I think Nimella and maybe even a Jake Muzzin. I know some people might not think that that's out of the ordinary, but I think a Jake Muzzin trade would really wake some people up. Like that would probably come out of nowhere because he's been, you know, a core piece for this team for the last few years. So thank you so much for the donation. I appreciate it. The professionals have said the same thing. Keefe moved him down to the third line for a reason. No, he wasn't moved to the third line because he's lazy. The third line needed a new look, and Keefe has even talked about this on record. The third line needed a little bit of a scoring touch, and Willie actually scored quite a bit on the third line. Lots of teams do this. They spread out their top end talent to try to get motivation from all three lines. You know, the fourth line's a bit of a the fourth line for the Leafs hasn't really been good, so I'd like them to improve there. But in terms of their top three lines, Sheldon Keefe said it. Like they needed to choose different guys to play with Tavares because him and Tavares weren't clicking anymore. But then they started clicking again, which was good. But they really wanted they wanted to spread out the defensive and offensive side. But yeah, no, I think I don't know what press conference you're talking about because he even talked about it. He wanted to pair defensive players with offensive players, so that's why he went with like Mikheyev on the second line, and then the third line they had what's his face on the third line with them, David Kampf. God, man, this is what happens when you stop watching Leaf hockey. David Kampf was playing with Nylander, so it was kind of like you have that defensive side of the game and let Nylander just do his thing offensively, basically ignoring the defensive side of the game. I mean, I do understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, like a lot of these quotes are taken out of context. Like I think a lot of people like just read one quote and then it's like, oh, that's what he said. No, like Sheldon Keefe mentioned it many times that they were trying to spread out the offensive and defensive side of each line. There's a lot of ways to look at it. I think plus minus is a stupid stat. You could be skating off the ice and get scored on and you're a minus. I mean, there's a lot of good players in the league that have a really bad plus minus. I don't value plus minus. Like if Connor McDavid had like a stupid plus minus, I'd still say he's the best player in the world. Like I mean, it doesn't matter if you're minus 45. Like you could be skating off the ice and you get a minus. Like in the playoffs, he had a +1. Like that doesn't do anything. Jason Spezza -2, Blackwell -2. I mean, it doesn't really matter to me, to be honest. Yeah, he has a terrible plus minus. That is concerning, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, this guy is terrible because of his plus minus. And -45, that is -9 this year. Where's the -45 coming from? Is that his career numbers? Because goddamn, that's high. That is tough, but I mean, damn, I don't really value plus minus that much. No, he's a +13 for his career. He's not a -45. Bro, who's a -45? It wasn't William Nylander. He's a +9 in his career. Yeah, I'm talking out of my ass. The -45 thing was just to be a dick. So Tavares was a -8. Wayne Simmons -7. Jake Muzzin -6. We had a lot of minuses on this team. Holy. David Kampf +12. What a pickup, eh? Patrick Kane? No way. Please no. Guys, you're talking about trading for Patrick Kane. What world do we live in here? This is the thing. This is the thing. I'm on the side of where like I'm a huge Nylander fan, but if they trade him and the Leafs get better, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Trade him if we're gonna get better, please. But then there's an other side where people people just don't like William Nylander, so they just use him as a trade example all the time, but that's lazy. Like you just go, well, Nylander doesn't battle, so trade him. Like it's lazy. It's really lazy. I think what people need to understand is when you draft a player and you know he's an offensive guy and his defensively isn't the best and his game isn't to be physical and you draft him and you know that's the style of player, you can't complain about the player because that's the guy you drafted. That's the guy you've signed. That's the guy you traded for. So it's like why are we expecting something different? If you know what he is, then that's what he's going to be. He scores a lot. Sometimes he's lazy. That's it. I mean, saying a guy has no heart, he's in the NHL. He got there for a reason. I mean, like, there's a lot of people that crapped all over Phil Kessel, like, and said he had no heart. I don't believe that either, man. There's so many guys that people just pick at one guy. Like for the longest time, everybody was picking on Jake Gardner. That guy had some big boneheaded mistakes, but at one point, Jake Gardner's defensive numbers were like the top on the Leafs blue line. Like if you looked at his advanced metrics, like he had such good numbers, but then made boneheaded mistakes. Player development. Okay, so not every player develops the same. Like it's not the same. Like Marner and Matthews, that's great. They stepped up physically, but not every player is going to develop the same way. Like there's players that have been in the league their whole career that weren't physical their whole career. That's just how it is. And Andrew, imagine you're sitting on the Leafs bench and Nylander allows our team to get the puck repeatedly. Nylander had like one of the best neutral zone takeaway numbers in the entire league. Like this is okay. So this is what I'm saying. There's two sides to this. I'm okay with trading Nylander if they get better. I've said that a million times. But there's some people in here that it's just like trade them for whatever, and they're just rhyming off numbers that don't make sense. Like the comment on giving the puck away repeatedly. Look at his neutral zone takeaway numbers. He takes the puck away quite a lot, like a lot. He's actually very good at getting the puck back. So that stat doesn't make sense to me. But the whole no heart and whatever else like that, whatever. That's like you can whatever. That's your opinion. Listen, I'm not gonna say he has the most heart on the team because he doesn't. But the guy is just a player that goes out there and scores a lot, and that's his game. Like his game is to go out there and score goals. And the whole developing player thing, again, doesn't make sense because a lot of players, like I said, they don't develop into anything different than how they were drafted. They just score goals. They barely play defense, and that's just their game. And teams need that. They need guys that just score the lights out. I mean, some guys are just not that good defensively, I guess. He just scores. That's his game. And the Tavares deal, you have to go out there and try to get the biggest fish possible. The Leafs did, and I mean, he didn't have his best year last year, but he still gave you good numbers. I mean, 76 points in 79 games, not too bad. So, but I don't get it. This is what I don't understand. So not good enough for the playoffs, right? So why not, instead of trading Nylander, you pair him with a physical winger? So the answer, what I'm this is what I'm trying to explain. It's like, why not trade for a guy that is physical, who can play on the wing beside Nylander to give him even more space? Problem solved. You don't need Nylander to turn into a physical dynamite frigging guy. Get a guy that can play beside him, that is physical. Give him more open ice. Give him an opportunity to play with a guy that will beat somebody's head in if they hit him. Okay, do that. I mean, I'd love for the Leafs to bring back Kadri, but he's going to get a big amount of money from Philadelphia, or he's going to sign with Montreal. We're not buying out Tavares' contract. And in terms of playoff performance, William Nylander's performed better in the playoffs than 90% of the team the last 2 years offensively. So he's part of the reason why the Leafs haven't moved past the first round. I mean, the reason why the Leafs didn't move past the first round this year was because, first of all, officiating was garbage. I'm not going to blame everything on the refs because that's ridiculous, but some of the calls in that series were absolutely brutal. And we got hot and cold goaltending from Jack Campbell. And the Leafs scored the lights out. Jack Campbell was hot and cold. If a goalie can steal you one game, you win the series. Darcy Kemper is going to get a lot of money, and it's going to be from Colorado. And maybe part of Nylander getting better is the fact that he just started laying guys out in Sweden. If you guys haven't seen the double IHF or whatever tournament that's over there, man, Nylander was laying guys out. Should the Leafs bring back Engvall or Mikheyev? I think Mikheyev is going to be too expensive, so they probably bring back Engvall. And then that's where you have to spend more money to acquire a top six player. Like, again, I'm not against the Leafs getting a JT Miller or trying to acquire somebody, but the whole point is you want to be a dynamite, like, balls to the wall team. You have to try to figure out a way to keep your stars while also getting better. Okay, not every player has to be a difference maker. Guys, there's not every guy is not a difference maker. You just have to have good depth. And this year, Engvall was good depth. Leaf fans online, you're not getting Manson in the offseason. Well, Manson wasn't that great this year. Manson has played pretty good since going to Colorado, but I mean, Manson got kind of overhyped at the beginning of this season. And I want him. I like Manson, but like I don't really know. Like Manson's like in the middle for me. Like he's either really good or sometimes just gets lost. Should the Leafs take a run at Hellebuck? I mean, maybe. Yeah, Hellebuck is too expensive. I mean, Jake Muzzin's a big question mark. I mean, I wouldn't trade both Hall and Muzzin. If you trade Muzzin, you don't have to trade Justin Hall. The Leaf fans know what cap space is. Well, I just told you, because the Leafs, if they traded Kerfoot, Mrazek, and Hall, and signed Sandin and Liljegren to $2.3 million deals each, they would have $12.5 million in cap space, which is a lot. I mean, the Leafs could afford to sign like a goalie and a couple forwards and have some money. Yeah, that's the other thing. And I called this in a video. I don't think the Leafs are going to be working in free agency this year. I think they're going to be working in trades. I really do. If Campbell comes in at a number that starts with 5, the Leafs lost. They need to get him under 4.5. Yeah, and the Kawhi trade doesn't make sense. Yeah. What do you mean? Who's not good? Like Kerfoot is an easily tradable player. Like I don't see how people think Kerfoot has negative trade value. He's at 3.5 million for one more year and just had 50 points. And he's a good defensive two-way player. Like he literally just played an amazing season. There was teams that wanted. There has been widely reported there was teams that wanted Kerfoot last season, but he got injured. So now this year, Kerfoot definitely has way more trade value. He's not going to get you in something amazing, but to say he's untradeable is ridiculous. Same thing with Justin Hall. 1 year at $2 million for a right shot defenseman. He has positive trade value. It's not good trade value, but it's positive trade value. It's not negative. You don't attach something to Justin Hall. You don't attach something to Kerfoot. You definitely attach something to Peter Mrazek. Yeah, you're gonna get something pretty decent for a Kerfoot. Like I don't like again, I really don't see where people think this guy is not a good hockey player. If the Leafs kept him, I wouldn't be against it. Who do you think is another free agent that Toronto could grab for a hometown discount? Probably, I don't know, PK Subban. Like as a seventh defenseman. I don't want him playing all the time, but I mean, holy shite. Yeah, Nick Paul, don't want any part of that because he's going to cost too much money. I'd like for them to potentially do an offer sheet. It depends on who they go after for sure. I mean, PK Subban's not very good, but I just if that's a hometown discount, then potentially. No, I don't want any part of Dubois. Apparently, that guy is not good in the locker room. We've talked about JT Miller. Like it's possible. Mason Marshman would be interesting. Somebody really thinks I'm 30 or older. I'm definitely not 30 years old. PK Subban, I wouldn't sign PK Subban for more than $2 million. It's not an old age home. Spezza signed because he's still a good hockey player, and who knows if he's going to play this year. Thornton, I mean, that was just whatever. That sucked. Wayne Simmons has been decent. Gio is awesome. I mean, Gio was really, really good. And I'm glad to have him back. PK Subban, yeah, I'd only take him back if it was like a seventh defenseman for like less than $1 million. PK Subban is not better than Justin Hall. I hate to tell you guys, but I'm just saying if you guys named off somebody that would take a discount, why would you sign somebody else over Gio? He's perfect for their bottom pair. Matthew Nyes probably isn't playing in the NHL until potentially the playoffs next year. He said he wants to go back to playing college hockey. Carter Hart's never going to be available. The Philadelphia Flyers apparently are going to try to spend big money this offseason. Yeah, I mean, Justin Hall's definitely not the best, but to say PK Subban is better is kind of ridiculous. Spezza can come back as an extra forward, in my opinion, and I like one of the comments that were talked about in here. I'd like for the Leafs to let their young guys run that fourth line until you get to the playoffs. Then you might have to switch that up. They're talking about potentially Pontus Holmberg, Joey Anderson, Nick Robertson. Well, what's Matthew Knies' injury? I didn't even think he was injured. He just said that he wants to go back and play in college hockey. Yeah, I think the Leafs need to address their goaltending situation for sure. Kemper's not going to sign in Toronto. It's going to be too much money. Nick Robertson is ready, in my opinion. I think he's definitely ready. And about the too small thing doesn't make sense either because there's lots of small players in the league. But Nick Robertson, he's my guy that thinks like that. I think could actually potentially be really good this year. They keep putting him back down there and are like, dude, like they're like you have to keep building on your game. And I mean, he keeps getting injured, but he's gonna. I think he's gonna go. I think he's gonna be good. Robertson could be a good third line player. I mean, Robertson hasn't also gotten more than like 25 games in a row or like 20 games. He has to get a feel for the game. You have to go in there and play consistently. If you're not doing that, then you're not going to actually see what he's worth. Yeah, so apparently the Leafs offered Campbell like a $2.7 million AAV, and yeah, it is lowballing. But if you look at the numbers that he put up in like the second half of the season, he was not good. He was really not good. He was playing like an AHL level goaltender for a really long time. I don't know if that offer was very early in the season. I never heard about that. I heard that it was more like towards the middle of the season, but Gorgiev is overrated. Yeah, I mean you can give Campbell $4 million, but you have to have somebody that can play with him. Josh Hosang, I think, is probably going to play with the Marlies until he feels like he can play somewhere else potentially. I don't think the Leafs are going to bring him up. I think they're going to try to sign Andre Kasha, but I don't think they're going to give him the money he wants. They probably will give him the same amount. All right, I've been on here for like 45 minutes, and I just wanted to come in and chat with you guys for a little bit. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Thank you guys so much for stopping in, and I definitely want to do this like once a week. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. And I think this was a good stream. So thank you. And if I disagreed with you on any comments or if you disagreed with me, not personal, just hockey takes. And if I seen any of you guys in public or at a game, you guys see me, come up and say what's good. Tell me that my hockey takes are bad. No, I'm just kidding. Come up and chat some hockey with me if you ever see me. There was somebody that seen me at a game and didn't come up to me, and they regretted it because they wanted to talk hockey, and I wanted to talk hockey. So if you're watching, you should have came up to me, because I want to talk to you guys, man. This is what it's about. We love the same thing. We love the Toronto Maple Leafs. We love hockey, and yeah, thank you guys so much. Let's talk next week. Maybe keep an eye out for my videos this week. I'll announce a date for for this week, and then that way we know. All right. So thank you guys, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Peace.